Thank you for plugging into this Family Life News podcast, streaming issues-driven, family-focused news.
Welcome back to another edition of Real Answers with Christopher Anderson. Wednesdays during the Noon Report, we tackle the tough topics facing today's families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. And today we're talking finances and marriage. And Chris, set the stage for us. Why is the topic of money or spending such a powerful topic?
One thing that I want to make sure people are aware of is that the topic of money is addressed more than most other topics in the Bible, and there's a reason for that. And the key is found in an often falsely quoted biblical concept based on 1 Timothy 6:10, and I'll read that scripture to you now. This is out of the NIV. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Now, this scripture often leads to a misinterpretation and a misusage or a misquoting of that scripture, and people imply or they come right out and say that money itself is the root of all kinds of evil, but that's not true. It's the love of money, and that's critical to understand that love is the actual root that the Bible is referring to. So what happens is when loving money takes hold, it sets up relational competition between you and God and then you and your spouse, if you're married. So then our fallen nature, our fallen sinful nature also comes into play, which includes the tendency that all of us have towards selfishness. And don't underestimate the power of this tendency. So now we have difficulty keeping God first and then keeping our marriage second. And the enemy knows this dynamic very well. But the truth is that when loving money happens, is the money itself is not doing a single thing. It's the enemy. It's the lies from the enemy that we're starting to believe, and that it's very easy to believe with our fallen nature, working in conjunction with our own fallen tendencies, including the desire to trust our own knowledge, trust our own ways and viewpoints and judgment, etc. Again, think back to the Garden of Eden. It goes right back to the garden. And then also our strong desires to feel secure, feel in control, and then how that plays out into our desires and actions to avoid, now get this, fear, pain, uncertainty, embarrassment, etc. Now that sounds a lot like a topic we cover periodically on Real Answers, and again, that's addiction, okay? Because these are the core roots of addiction. So you can see then that this dynamic is easily an encompassing or an umbrella-type topic. So money and finances, there's a lot underneath that topic.
So how do you as a counselor wade through the complexity of finances and spending issues in marriage difficulties?
Well, the first thing as a counselor is to remember that each spouse is a unique individual with unique gifts, unique desires and dreams, abilities, skills, and in all fairness, a unique history from childhood impacts or early adulthood issues, as well as sin patterns. So the unique individuals are comprised of those things. So that's why encouraging each spouse to do their own personal house cleaning first, or at the same time that you're seeing a marriage counselor, is so vital. So in a Christian marriage, it's hoped that each spouse is grounded in Scripture and that there's a desire to honor God, which honors the other person as well, so that desire is in place first. So in situations where both are on the same page with the desire to work through these issues in a biblical manner, that's really advantageous. Now, in situations where one of the spouses or both are not Christian or not grounded in the faith, it can really complicate things and, in my opinion, honestly decrease the chances of being able to successfully work out these issues to a healthy and meaningful level.
So at some point, it sounds as if there needs to be some general discussion on just how the finances are going to be directed or spent.
Yes, Brandon, that's right. Once you can establish connections and bring some awareness to the couple, as to why these marital tensions are taking place, you can then show how each spouse's personal preferences, fears, desires, etc., are playing into the marriage difficulties. And then especially as each spouse is still engaged in the process, you can then start to communicate more directly about how the money is being spent and then what needs to happen to make some necessary spending changes that will put that couple in a better financial situation.
Any final thoughts or recommendations, Chris?
Yes, if you're having issues in your marriage and it appears to be related to finances, don't hesitate to gently discuss with the other person the possibility of seeking professional support. Again, that could be from a counselor, a marriage and family therapist, or at least some sort of a seminar or webinar that churches often provide for dealing with finances and marriages.
You've been listening to another edition of Real Answers with Christopher Anderson. It airs Wednesdays during the Noon Report. We tackle the tough topics facing today's families with Christian counselor Christopher Anderson.